Good morning and welcome. Welcome to the Retired Living True series, and today's topic, the truth about retired living options for proactive people. And I'm so pleased that you are all here because that means you're all proactive. You're all here to learn something hopefully you didn't know when you walked in. My name's Brett Janelle and I'm your host and moderator. Myself, along with my wife Annette, co-founded the seminar series roughly 10 years ago. We've been doing this for 10 years. So for those people who are new, welcome, and for returning people, welcome also. So today's topic is one of two topics we're doing this year that are kind of related. Today's all about learning about different retired living options, specifically as to retired living senior communities that we have in the area. And I have four amazing residents from four different communities who have gone through the transition of moving from the home that they were in into one of our local communities. And they're going to tell us a story of why, what the challenges were, how it came about, and help us better understand why we might want to at least consider that as a possible plan in the future. Who here, by a show of hands, has ever made a quick, rash decision in crisis mode? Anyone? Everybody. And then has later regretted it and wished you knew or wished you'd had more time or knew more options, and you would have done it differently. Can anyone relate to that? If I knew more, I probably would have made a different decision. So that's part of today, just knowing what other options are available. So, and I know I've asked this before, but again, just humour me, especially for the new people. Who plans on never moving out of their current home? They're in their forever home. Yeah? Come on, everyone put your hands up, tell the truth. Come on, it's a true series. Yeah, we all probably plan on staying where we are. But does life change? Does our health perhaps change? Whether it be our physical health, our emotional health, our mental health, could they possibly change as we continue to age? Could we lose a spouse? Could we find ourselves isolated in the home that we're in? Could we find ourselves not looking after ourselves very well in terms of maybe nutrition or exercise or mixing with other people? So those are all possibilities as we age and we change that we might need to have a plan B. So I mentioned two seminars. The other seminar that we're going to do in June is the truth about staying put, staying in your home for the long haul. So for those of us who never plan on moving, I would recommend coming along to that seminar so that you can understand what changes we might want to make to our home as we age, or am I in the right home? Could this be for my forever home? So Annette and I have the privilege of helping many people go through the transition of moving from the home that they're in to somewhere else, whether it be a senior living community, a smaller, more manageable home, or some other option, moving in with family. And during that process, the most common thing we hear people say to us is, I wish I knew more and I had started sooner. I wish I didn't wait so long. Because what happens as we get older? Do things get easier or harder? Yeah, in all aspects of our life. Yeah, we kind of slow down, and our physical ability, yeah, things change. So yeah, the clients that we work with, either helping them downsize and sell their home, or just giving them advice in terms of what the options are, or wish they had done it sooner and wish they had known more. So I just commend you all for being here today, just to educate yourself on just knowing more. Isn't that what life is about, just knowing more so we can make better decisions? I think that's true for most of us. So before I have my panelists come up and join me, I just wanted to share an email that we got from actually an attendee on Friday. Annette received this email. And who here in the audience has helped someone, is helping someone who is struggling with something in their life? Has anyone ever helped someone else? Yeah, struggling, whether it's a move or health or something's going on, a friend, a family member. Yeah, so I see most of us can relate to that. Well, this particular person sent us an email on Friday, and I just want to read it out to you. And this email was to Annette, and as I said, it was from an attendee who we know has helped quite a few people who are struggling, typically with a move. She's just very active and helps people, and she said this: I wish there was a way you could emphasize, referring to us, that you could emphasize that people need to make the decision to move when they first start struggling. Okay? Not when we're really struggling and life's really hard, but when we first realize life is changing. She wished more people would reach out and get help and do something about whatever situation they're in. And then she goes on to say, I see so many of my friends waiting too long before making the decision and acting on it, and then it's too hard for them. Does anyone know of someone who've put it off so long, then it becomes really, really hard? Eventually they have to do something, but it's not optimal because they've just waited too long, whether it's going and seeing the doctor about some ailment we have, or whether it's making a move, or whatever it might be. They've just waited too long, and now we pay the price of inaction. And what is the easiest thing to do? Inaction? That's kind of our normal thing. I'll put it off till tomorrow. I don't want to deal with this. I'll just wait till another time. So my panelists, who I'm going to come and join in a moment, have gone through the process, and they definitely took action, and we're just going to hear about what action they took and why, and hopefully help us all understand just one of the many options we have available to us. So Lauren, could I start with you? Could you introduce yourself to the audience as I walk up, who you are, whether you have a significant other, and a little bit about yourself?
My name is Lauren Acton. I'm a Montana kid, married to a Montana girl, and we moved to Sparks, Nevada in 2019. I made my living spending your money studying the sun. Namely, I was a solar astronomer building and flying instruments in space for solar research using NASA funding. But it's really good to be here because I think this is an important question and decision that we have to deal with.
I kind of like rubbing arms with Lauren, because for those who don't know, he went up in the space shuttle, and he's the only person I know who's flown in space, so I think it's really cool. I'm with an astronaut. So Lauren, could you tell us where you moved into, which community, and what type of community it is?
We moved into Cascades of the Sierra. It's a typical retirement community with independent living, assisted living, and memory care. We chose it partly because of that, and partly because it was the one closest to where our daughter lived.
Wonderful. We'll come back and explore that further, so thank you. So for those who don't know, Cascades of the Sierra is in Spanish Springs in Sparks, so one of our local communities. Shireen, could you introduce yourself to the audience, please? A little bit about yourself.
I'm Shireen Drake. I've lived in Morningstar for 2 years. My husband and I moved in 2023, and we lived in the Sparks area for 24 years, and my husband's health was failing, and so we started talking about the possibility of going into a senior living community. And at first, as you all know, it's a very difficult decision to make. And I think my husband was a little more held back on it a little bit more, not quite ready to make that decision. But as his health problems grew, and we decided that our home, which we owned, was a little bit too much to take care of. And he did a lot of gardening, which he wasn't able to do anymore. So we talked to our kids, and they helped us also with their opinions, but the final decision, of course, was ours. We had watched Morningstar being built several years ago, and so we went there first for a tour, and then we also went to a couple others. It was difficult for my husband to walk very far, and also after visiting 2 or 3 communities, I also went online and looked up several and was able to get information. And after visiting a couple places, you find that you can recognize what is online if you do computers and decide if you would like to go in person or not. My husband passed
Shireen, I'm going to stop you because you're going to answer all of my questions if I let you keep going. I won't have any questions for you.
That's all right. You have to cut me off occasionally.
No, you're good. Thank you. So we're going to dig down more on what you shared with us then. Chris, could you share who you are, a little bit about your background, and also, which community you're in and the type of community?
Certainly, thank you. My name is Chris Freeberg, and I'm a Reno resident for many, many years. And about 2 years ago, I started looking for talking to people and looking for a community. And it took me a while to make the decision, and most of that decision was made between my dog and I, actually. We were both aging together, and she passed away a year ago in October, and I became very lonely. So I decided it was time, and I live in Premier Residence, which is independent living, and also we have assisted living. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Christy, who are you? Where do you live now? And just a little bit about yourself.
That's an excellent question. I am Christy Lance. I'm a disabled veteran, and I live at Mountain Lakes Estates, and it's the best decision that I've ever made.
Wonderful.
I'm really happy.
Wonderful. Thank you, Christy, for your service to our country. Yeah, thank you. So, Lauren, well, actually, I'll start with you there, Christy. So, tell us, how long did you think about moving into a retirement community, or just making a move in general? How did that come about, and how long did it take?
It was a serial process. First of all, Evelyn and I both come from people that live a long time, and so we had to face up to the fact that we might. We were living in a place quite remote from our kids, and we wanted to get close to the kids, so we were going to move. But we had friends in Bozeman that had moved into retirement places, and so we thought maybe we should move closer to the kids and into a retirement place right away. So that started the process of researching about retirement places, and we ended up where we are, and I believe the process was very helpful because we have seen other people go before.
So how long would you say the total process was, from the first time you and Evelyn started talking about it seriously to when you actually moved into Cascades?
Probably 15 years.
Wow. So quite a bit of thought went into it, 15 years. So that's why we're talking about it today. It's not that you're moving tomorrow, but maybe in 15 years, maybe that's appropriate then, so you just know what the options are. So just tell us a little bit more. So you said 15 years, but then you said it was 2 years ago that you moved in, but I know you went and visited there sometime prior to that, and in fact, I believe you stayed there, correct?
Well, after we decided to move to Sparks, then we had our daughter arrange visits to probably 7 different retirement places, came out from Montana, managed to get Cascades to give us a free week, staying in their place to find out what living there was like. And by the end of that, this was in 2018, by the end of that, we had put down a deposit for Cascades, but our kids had already decided that we weren't ready to move in. So when we actually made our move to Nevada, we bought a house and lived there for 5-6 years.
Okay, so you planned to move into a community. The kids said, no, you need a house, and you just agreed. So you got a house, and then ultimately you did decide to move into a community. Okay, good. Just wanted to be clear on that. And I know Lauren was very fortunate to get a free week. That typically doesn't happen anymore. That was some time ago. But just so you know, if you are looking at communities, most or many do have that option to be able to go test it out. You pay for it, but you get to test it out for a couple of nights and see if it's a good fit. So it's just worth asking. That would be a question I would have for communities. So Shireen, tell us, how long did you and Bob spend from the time when you first spoke about it to actually making a move? How long did that process take?
I would say approximately, to make the decision was maybe 3 months. We didn't have 15 years. But
so that was related to health this time, correct?
yes, with his health issues being more and more critical. And our children also were concerned because they did not live locally. And they do come when we need them. But to have something on hand, and because Morningstar, besides independent living, also has assisted living and memory care. So having those facilities at Morningstar was a big plus for us. And we made several trips to Morningstar to decide on what size apartment, and they were very helpful. We went and took measurements because, as you know, you have to downsize. And so when we decided to make our decision, and I know for my husband, he wanted to make sure I would be well cared for if anything happened to him. And he did pass away 10 months ago. And so I've started a new journey in my life. Excuse me, I get a little teary-eyed yet. But it all has worked out very well for me.
Thank you, Shireen. Chris, tell us a little bit about how long, the process you went through, how long that took for you to make a decision. Was it quick or short?
I'm not sure whether it was quick or short. It was about 2 years. I lived by myself, and I have a daughter that lives here and a son that lives in Oregon. And the kids weren't really involved with it. I'm pretty independent, and they recognize that. So I went to a place where my best friend's mother was, and I enjoyed it very much, and that's where I ended up going to, is Premier. Mainly, my decision was about my dog. And those of you that have dogs totally understand this. I lived by myself with Lola, and she was a very big dog. She was about 152 pounds. Yeah, she was a big one. And she was also aging. And so I said that both the girls were aging gracefully together. And when she passed away, I made the decision to move because I was very, very lonely. Jerry at Premier Residence kept contact with me for over the 2 years that it was since I had started looking, which I truly appreciate. The attention that he gave me. It gave me what I was looking for. I looked at other places also to compare because I think that's an important part of our decision always. But it was mainly because of my dog. I'm very happy. I think I made the right decision.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. So Christy, how long did it take you to decide to make a move, and how many communities did you look at in the process?
The seed of independent living was planted when my mother-in-law lost her husband, and she moved into the Cascades. We lived about a mile from the Cascades of the Sierras. And I remember the first time when we were touring, I walked through the front door, there was a band playing, people were smiling, and it was like a cruise ship. And I was telling my husband at the time, oh my God, I want to live here. At that point, it was kind of just joking. And move forward to this past November, the end of November. I went through a divorce, and I had brain surgery, had a tumor on my frontal lobe, and a little bit of cognitive, a little bit of memory, not progressive, but I knew that I wanted to be somewhere safe. I could not manage a house by myself, and so honestly, when I made the decision in November, I moved in December 3rd. I knew what I wanted, and yes, I toured lots of facilities. And I think you have more questions, so I'll shut up because I'll tell more about it later.
No, you're good. So how many communities did you tour?
4 other communities.
Yeah, all local?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then you decided the Mountain Lakes was the best one for you. It was the best fit.
I'll share about that later.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay. And then Chris, remind me, how many communities did you look at?
I looked at 3 different communities.
3 different communities, good. And Shireen, how many did you look at?
Well, in person, we went to 3, and then I
3.
did look up several others online. And their websites are good. They explain things and show pictures and all. So I really looked at several more.
Yeah, but you're able to eliminate some online for various different criteria. And then Lauren, you said you looked at a good half a dozen.
By the time we were done, I guess we had visited 8.
8, yeah. So it's good to, look at the different options. So, because they're all different, aren't they? They're not the same. People think, okay, if I've seen one, I've seen them all, but they're all different for various different reasons, from location to amenities to the feel to... You wanted to say something, Lauren?
Well, I wanted to mention another thing that I think is important, and that is we had not only had friends that had moved into retirement communities and were happy there, we've had friends who had to be moved by their kids against their will. And so we really wanted to plan things ahead so that we were making the decisions, make it as easy as possible family-wise, while still having good quality of life.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to jump down to you, Christy. Could you just list off 2 or 3 things that were the criteria for you? So if you were ever thinking of moving to a community or to another home or whatever it might be, we need to think about criteria. What's important to us? We can't have the person beside us tell us what's important. It's a personal decision that we need to make. So Christy, what was important to you when you were looking at the communities? Did you have some criteria to be able to eliminate the others to settle on the one where you are now?
I wanted
Christy, your microphone.
Hello. Okay. I wanted an uplifting, positive environment. I wanted a place where people smiled when you walked in, where residents were active and friendly, and aesthetics were important. I didn't want something that was really run down. And I wanted something that when you walk in felt warm and inviting and like it could be a home.
And you obviously got that.
I did.
Because you're so excited when you talk to me about how much you love where you are, which is fantastic. So Chris, what were your criteria as you looked at different communities, the must-haves?
Well, I have to say ditto to Christy. The other thing I would add to that is I was looking for some place that was safe. I'm by myself, and that was very, very important to me. I think it's funny when we talk about make it a place that you want to feel like home. I still say my neighbor across the street. So I definitely feel like I am home. And the other thing that I was also wanted was a place that felt like home. And I have that, and I'm very happy.
Thank you. Shireen, did you have anything different to what Chris and Christy shared?
I think one main thing, or more than one actually, that we did look at as far as activities go at the communities. And I was very impressed with the different kinds of activities. One thing that has helped me a great deal, they have an art class that has helped me get back to drawing and painting like I used to do many years ago. And so it's encouraged me to pick up the pencil and the paintbrush again and dabble in this kind of thing. And they have many different kinds of entertainment. Music, I know, was mentioned before, and exercise classes and everything, which is very helpful for everyone.
Wonderful. Lauren, did you have some criteria?
If we were going to maintain peace in the family, the place that we chose...
That was number one criteria, peace in the family.
The place that we chose had to have a veranda where Evelyn could get outside and plant a few flowers.
Oh, so planting flowers is important. Yeah, it's just those little things, isn't it, that make all the difference. And you also said location, proximity when we talked.
Well, location was important, and it's paid off. Our daughter comes over, 3 or 4 times a week. We play games, so the fact that it's 2 miles instead of 20 miles across town makes a big difference.
So that immediately would have eliminated quite a few communities for you then when you were deciding, because being close to your daughter was important.
Well, they would have to be pretty special places in order to compete against that.
Yeah, well said, well answered. So let's talk about support systems. I'll start with you, Lauren. Did you have anyone helping you through this process? Was it just you and Evelyn making the decision and the move? Was there some form of help?
We kept our 2 kids informed as the process went on, and as I mentioned on our first visit to Sparks in 2018, they came over to Cascades and had dinner with us. So they were well informed, but basically we made the decisions.
Okay. And Shireen, you and Bob, was that a joint decision? Was the family involved?
Yes, our family was involved to express how they felt as far as our considering this move. But the decision was up to Bob and me. And after we moved, it was amazing how quickly we both looked at each other and said, you know what? We made the right decision.
Wonderful. And did you both equally make it at the same time, or were one of you leading the other? Was one of you resistant at all?
I think I was leading a bit. He was a little more reluctant and thinking of the big job involved in moving, in having an estate sale, etc., and going through all of that. But I told him, I said, there are people out there who will help us that we can hire. And our real estate lady also, who became a friend, helped us a great deal through the whole process of finding an apartment that we liked. She helped me measure. She helped us find people to help us move and all. And so it made the decision a little easier once we had those things in line.
But it was still a tough decision, wasn't it? It was emotional
Yes.
from what you
Yes,
shared with
yes.
me, and giving up your home and the garden.
Yes, and a lot of your keepsakes and everything that you know you're not going to have room for anymore, and the things that the kids didn't necessarily want to take,
Right.
and that kind of thing. So yes, there's a lot of emotion involved in all of it.
Thank you. Chris, you did have support, I know, from your daughter. So just tell us a little bit about what that looked like. Was it her decision? She decided you were moving, or your decision? Tell us more.
No, it was my decision. And I had support from my daughter, but I also had a tremendous amount of support from my best friend. She's more like a sister to me than my own sister was. And I think we've been friends for 40 or 45 years, so we know each other very, very well. The decision was mine. I feel as though I made the right decision. I agree with everything that has been said before. And I wish I would have known about these seminars that you had, because I look at the schedule now and I see some I'd like to go to. So good for you guys for being here. It is a big decision, but I feel as though, I'll say again, I made the right decision, and I think my children feel the same way.
Could you talk to me a little bit about cost? When you and I had a conversation, you said your daughter was resistant because of cost. You were nervous because of cost, as we all would be, making a change. Can you just tell us a little bit, share a little bit more about that with the audience?
Well, it's kind of interesting because I know for myself, I do a lot of things based on the cost. And my best friend said something to me that I will never forget, and she was 100% right. She said, look at the accommodations, look at the community and see if that's something you would be interested in. I think my daughter is getting used to the cost, and she doesn't say anything too much more about it now, which is fine. And I think that she's more interested in my lifestyle now than actually she was before, because I am very busy. There are so many activities. You can overwhelm yourself, but I've tried a lot of different things, and if I don't really like it, I don't go back, and it's fine with everyone. So, but cost is not everything, so I would advise you to look at the other amenities that your community has.
So just on that, your daughter said, Mum, this place is really expensive. Yes. And you agreed. But then you shared with me that you sat down and started going through the numbers, and you had a good friend with you to kind of help them brainstorm, well, how do I compare where I am now versus where I plan to move to?
And actually, yes, that's 100% true. And we had a conversation not too long ago about I don't know, I haven't figured it out. I don't know if I'm going to spend any time on it because it's working, but I have more money to put in savings than I have before, and
Say that one more time.
Wonderful. I have more money left over to put in savings than I did before when I was living on my own.
And so you did a comparison. Was it way more expensive if you're putting away more savings? I'm guessing not, but we would all assume, or many, I know I would, it's way more expensive to be in a community than to be in my house.
I can't remember what, my memory isn't very good, but I can't remember what they call it. Is it shell shock or something like that? Because when you hear the price, wow, it does sound like a lot of money. But when I sat down and figured out everything that I spent my money on, living on my own, and the one thing that I love is I get one bill. Everything. I pay for my cell phone, and that's it. And I love it because I don't always remember to pay my bills. So that was great for me.
Now you have Jerry coming saying, you've got one bill, it's mine, you need to pay it.
Jerry knocks on my door and reminds me.
Yeah. I just bring that up because a lot of us have that feeling or belief of shell shock that it's way more expensive. And if you haven't been through the exercise, I would encourage you to do a comparison worksheet of where I am now and if I went to a community. And one of the education partners, Premier Residence, as part of their education partner piece that we'll have at the end, is actually a cost comparison worksheet. So for those who are interested, I would just encourage you at the end of the seminar to stop by Jerry and Lisa at Premier Residence and just pick it up and just do the exercise of filling it out. Because we overlook the home maintenance, the water heater that needs to be replaced, the roof that's aging, you know, the other maintenance around the house, the insurance bill, the taxes, all the other things that we have, that when we move into a community, those all go away and we just have one bill. And sometimes it might be around similar. So thank you.
And which if you don't mind, I'd like to say it's garbage, it's water, it is, sometimes some of you probably are paying a residence fee, a community fee, I can't remember what you call it.
Like a HOA fee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's residence, it's wonderful. One time, no bills.
Yeah. And just to follow up on, I heard Chris start to say 5-star. For those who don't know, our community that was formerly known as 5-star Premier Residences is now just called Premier Residences. So when you hear people, that's kind of sometimes the confusion. They just recently changed their name. So most people still call
very recently.
Very recently, yes. Just activities, Chris, is my last thing. So you shared that you're now doing more things and exploring things you never thought you would do because you're in the community. Could you share one thing you've tried that you hadn't done before?
Oh, yeah, Biggie just came up. I am now the librarian at Premier Residence, and it has been fun. We are updating. The library is just fabulous. Most of the time it runs itself, but we are going to do some updating in the library. And so we are exploring that, and it keeps me busy.
Yeah. You shared you played pool just recently that you'd never done before, correct? Yes. And some exercise classes you'd never done before, new experiences?
Well, it's nice. All I have to do is go down the stairs or down the elevator and go to exercise class 3 times a week. Actually, I go 5 times a week because I go to a balance class also. But everything is there. In fact, I had to cut back a little bit when I became the librarian because I had too many things on my plate.
Thank you. So, Christy, tell us a little bit about the support system you had or didn't have in that process of deciding that you were going to make a move relatively quickly.
The decision was completely my decision, and I knew it was the right decision. I had one relative, my stepmom, and I had a best friend. And I think when I shared with them, I think they had that picture of everyone in a wheelchair maybe, or everyone getting close to the end, which we all are. I don't think that they knew for sure it was the right fit for me. So support system, it was pretty much me.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
So we don't have to have people around us. We can make it happen on our own, but there are people around who can help if we need help.
Right.
Yeah, so excellent. And then on activities, you had mentioned, or actually I've been told, who is that cute young girl who's always running in and out and going and playing tennis? And they're referring to you. I know you're very active there, so what are some of the things you've enjoyed in the
Okay.
3.5 months?
I don't think cute was in that, but I am active. And oh my gosh, I got to tell y'all something. I didn't make it to my senior prom. And I have this one gown that was for my stepdaughter's wedding, mother of the bride. One of those things where you're never going to wear it again, but it cost money. In the divorce, as this can happen, the kids sometimes, these were my stepkids, weren't happy that I left their dad. So I move in, I've got this huge ball gown, and then there's this flyer that says, senior prom. Okay, and all of a sudden I'm kind of giggling. And today, when I get back, we have the senior prom from 2:30 to 5:30. And I've picked out all the jewelry, the shoes that go with it. I got my date, my friend, a boutonniere, and I have a corsage. And I feel like I have a second chance at life and joy, and I'm going to take it. And the other thing is they would say to me, well, you're too young to be here. And it's like, it's 55 up, I'm 60, I can be here. And then everybody took me in. And I don't feel like I'm the young one and these are old people. I feel like we all connect. I mean, what do you say, the human condition, we all have the same basic needs and joys, and I just have a blast. I love waking up in the morning and going to the restaurant, and there's 3 people I adore, and we sit down and have coffee. When I first got there, and a waitress came and said, what would you like? And I was like, oh my God, this is unbelievable, honeymoon period. The other activity, the balance classes and the exercise classes are wonderful. I like Trivial Pursuit, and that's been fun. And we just started a welcoming committee. We realized that when you first come in and you get your pamphlet and talk to the salesperson, you get this overview of everything. And then when you're actually in, you're like, well, how do I carry the groceries in? They don't tell you there's carts. These are things you find out. So 6 of us volunteered, and we're all paired with a new person. And we have a meal with them, get to know them, and then we tell them all the things that you really don't know. So it's not so overwhelming. So I'm really excited to be on that. Did I answer?
Yeah, that's
okay.
wonderful. You sound like you're just loving life. Lots of activities. You're going to the senior prom today. How cool is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm happier than I've ever been in my life.
How neat is that? That is cool.
Bravo, bravo.
So let me jump to you, Lauren. Tell us about the biggest challenges you and Evelyn had from anywhere in the process, whether it was thinking about it, whether it was the move, whether it was being in the community, whether it's now 2 years on. What are the biggest challenges that our audience, if they went through the same journey, might have to overcome, or at least you had to overcome?
Well, we were living a comfortable retired life in Montana, but there was one little problem with our financial plan, and that is, if I kick the bucket, 90% of the income goes away. And so we needed to face up to that, and we did it by hiring a professional financial advisor and working through all the numbers and the IRAs and this and that, and came up with a plan that I could kick the bucket tomorrow and Evelyn could live to 100 and would still be able to stay where we are.
Okay, wonderful. So the biggest challenge in your mind was like financially, how do we make sure we're both protected?
Yeah, how to make it all work.
Yeah. Any other challenges in the whole process?
Getting rid of the stuff.
I was waiting for that.
I'm not paid for saying what I'm going to say, but this Truth Seminar series has been enormously helpful in working through some of these issues, and what to do with the stuff is one of them. It turns out that there are people that run something called Moves Made Easy, which is not true. Moves are not easy. Nevertheless, they can be a lot worse. And so once we decided to sell the house and make the move, there were folks to help us. Thank you very much.
Oh, our pleasure, Lauren. Yeah. Yeah. I guess I'm taking you guys out for dinner for that little plug. But it's not just us. There's other resources in the community, whether it's Annette and I and our team that help, or you find someone else, family, another company. Yeah, if you need help, just reach out and ask friends, professionals, for help, whether it's a financial advisor, whether it's help to move or sell the house. There's great resources here in our community. So thank you, Lauren. So no other challenges? We're good? That was it, the stuff, and then just the financial plan.
Things worked out remarkably well.
Yeah, they have, yeah. Can tell how happy you guys are where you are now. Shireen, what were the biggest challenges you had in this whole process?
I'm not sure there was just one.
No,
I mean, the whole plan, putting it all together, you have these different things. Yes, the stuff is a biggie. We had a lot of stuff, and there were a couple things that I really wanted to keep, collections of some things, but we worked it out, so I was able to. Other things, no. We had to sell or give to someone and get rid of it. But the entire package, I think, is a challenge, and you have to take each challenge separately, but finding help to help you. Like I say, we had our real estate person who helped us a great deal in finding help for the movers and the packers and the unpackers and that kind of thing. The whole picture is a challenge, but you find out that you can tackle the problem by working together.
Yeah, so a lot of emotional challenge.
Yes, a lot of emotion can be involved, and different people handle that kind of thing differently too, as to the things you're willing to give up and the other things you're not. And it's hard to make those decisions.
But one decision at a time, one challenge at a time. Yeah. What about you, Chris? Did you encounter challenges along the way?
Oh, yes, of course. There's always challenges in life. I think the biggest challenge for me was really realizing what was just stuff.
What do you mean by that, just stuff?
Things that, family things. My parents, my whole family is gone, so I ended up with everything. And I had to go through and look at each one of those things and make a decision. Some of them I regret, and I think that that's just very normal. But I think that was the biggest thing for me, is to realize that there is some things that, how necessary is it? On the family things, I asked my kids if they wanted it. Sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. And then I asked some cousins, who I had some of their parents' stuff, and some of them wanted it, some of them didn't. But I think that was the biggest challenge. In fact, I still have 2 boxes that I have to go through, and I've been there a year now, but they're pictures, and I'm afraid that is probably going to be one of my biggest challenges, because when they're gone, they're gone. So, but it'll all work out.
Yeah, it does. It all works out. Christy, challenges that you encountered along the way?
Okay, the first challenge was finding a place that feels like home, being able to afford it. It was pretty clear cut. I had my Army disability, what that's going to cover, and here's the cost. So that got resolved quickly. Honestly, the hardest thing is going through a divorce. If anybody's gone through that, it's a roller coaster. And when I decided, it was 3 weeks before I moved in, and so my ex-husband and I were still under the same roof, and that was the most emotional, difficult part.
Could imagine. So none of you made any mention of integrating into the community being a challenge. Was that a challenge for any of you? You're moving into somewhere new, you don't know anybody. Not a challenge?
One thing I will say, even when we first visited Morningstar, where we decided to move, when we were being shown apartments, walking down the hall, everyone was so friendly, smiling. We would walk through the area where they were having activities. There was laughter. They were enjoying themselves. The dining room, you would see people sitting together, and which I experience now, and you become friends, and you talk to each other, and there's always some laughter going on. So that part of it I found to be very comfortable, and also with the staff that works there, also being very helpful, very friendly, and very caring.
So it would be fair for me to say on behalf of all of you that the community and the staff, the residents, are there to embrace you and help you integrate as quickly as possible, so it truly feels like home?
I agree 100%. In fact, I still say across the street. Somebody lives in the hall across the street from me. So it definitely feels like home. It definitely feels like a real wonderful community.
So, Chris, you've been there now for 1 year, correct? Yes. So now that you've been there 1 year, how do you feel about your decision, your lifestyle there? What would you like to share with the audience?
Oh, wow. How much time do we have? I agree about Premier. I would love to know how they pick their staff, because I think there's a lot of people in a lot of restaurants and a lot of stores, different places that should use the same source because they're wonderful. In fact, I'm working with one of the people from the main office right now to upgrade the library, and we had so much fun doing it. And I haven't had this much fun in many, many years.
Fantastic. Lauren, you've been there 2 years. So how is your lifestyle? Was it a good decision? What do you like best? Anything you would have done differently?
It's actually worked out pretty well because it turns out to be a community. We have more of a community now where we live than we've had for years.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it's a place where Evelyn can get involved with things that I don't have to get involved in, and vice versa. And people support each other. But by and large, there's the opportunity to meet enough different people that you can hang around the ones you like and you can ignore the ones you don't.
So there are a few people that you end up not liking, just like in life. Yeah.
Well, we won't go into that.
Okay, fair enough. So it's enriched your life.
Oh, yes, I feel that it does, particularly as we age and mental capabilities and ability to see and all these changes. You know, we're living in a community where that's what happens to everybody. And so we're no longer oddballs of the bunch, but we're just part of the group.
Excellent. Christy, you've been there 3.5 months. I think we've kind of got an idea of your lifestyle and how much you like it, but anything you'd like to add?
One of the things I really like is when I walk into the restaurant, it's hi, 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 smiles. People greet each other. The other thing I didn't mention is there's a lake that it overlooks. I didn't even know a lake existed on South Meadows. It has a walking trail around it. My dog is so happy there. Everybody loves my dog, and that's been nice, and they know his name more than mine. There was one other thing. This is that memory thing.
So it was a good decision for you, for you and Griffin.
Yes, it was fantastic.
Yeah, you're both well accepted,
Yes.
enjoying life.
Yes.
As you said, Griffin gets a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Shireen, you've been there now 2 years also. 2 years. Yes, so just tell us, was this a good decision? Is this a good lifestyle for you?
It was an excellent decision. As I have said, the other residents who live in our community are so friendly, so helpful, and the staff also. If you ever have a problem or a question, you go to them and they help you. It is a community. It isn't just an apartment building or a senior residence. We are more like family.
Well said. So my last question to each of you, and I'll start with you, Christy, is there any words of wisdom that you would like to impart to our audience in terms of planning ahead, being open to a community? Is there any words of wisdom you'd share as people go through the journey, as we all age, that might be helpful?
I think be open-minded and explore what's real, not just the stigma that you hear. Go there. Is it what people think? Oh God, everybody's there to die. Or, are people there to have a life? And listen to your gut or your heart. For me, I guess I'm more of a, I don't know what the word is, emotion-based. For me, my gut told me. I would walk in different ones, and my gut said, And I'm one of those people that when I used to look for houses, and the realtor would be with me, and we'd pull up to one, and I'd look at the curb. Nope. Well, don't you want to go in and look? Nope. I know. And so I think listen to your gut. It worked for me.
Great, thank you. Chris, words of wisdom for our audience based on your experience or that of others who are there in the community?
Wow. Words of wisdom, I completely agree with Christy. Listen to yourself. Ask questions. If it feels good, you're probably right. I know that the staff made a lot of difference to me. It's very, very similar at Premier. It feels like home. Wow, I wish I had all those people greeting me when I did go home. When I had a bad day, it'd be a better day going home. But I think that's the most important. Listen to your heart and ask questions and trust yourself.
Thank you.
And go to these seminars.
Go to the seminars. Well, speaking of that, as the audience probably now know, we're going to offer some community tours in April of 5 different communities, and I'll talk about it again in a moment. But if we're sitting here in the audience going, well, this is another 10 years out for me, I don't need to go on the tours, how would you respond to that?
I'd say go.
Why should they go?
Why? And last night I was going over the questions that we were talking about, but I also looked at the schedule that they have. And there's a couple classes that I'd like to go to. The new one on, I think it's AI. I think that's something, those things are important because we're all impacted. Everybody that has a phone, everyone that has a computer. I think the more information we have, the better off we are.
Yeah, and us going on a tour may not necessarily just be to help ourselves down the track, it might be to help someone else. So me having knowledge of the different communities, I might actually be able to help a friend or a family member somewhere along the way. Yep. So,
if I may add something,
yes.
I think, which came to mind, even if you plan on not making this move 4 or 5 years or something, go and visit some places and get a better feel and understanding from what this is going to be like, because 5 years from now, it will help you make that decision much easier and much quicker. And you might even find you don't want to wait for 5 years.
Very good. And does 5 years go by quick, or 10 years? Yeah, it seems the time seems to go by quicker and quicker. Did you have any words of wisdom before I go to Lauren, other than that, Shireen? Any other words of wisdom? Lauren.
Well, Brett, I'm very thankful that our aging process has permitted us to take the time to plan to learn, to experiment, so that we never had to make any abrupt decisions and do something right now because there was a crisis. I just think we're darn lucky. So my advice is to be lucky.
I like that, being lucky. And we are, we're all lucky. We live in a great country, we have great opportunity, great resources in our community. So yeah, we're all very lucky. So if you have a question for our panelists, please raise your hand and then one of the mic runners will come to you. We have one down here, Grace. Please keep your hand raised, hands up, just so we can kind of see who to go to next. So we have several on this side. Thank you, Annette. Yes?
The activities sound wonderful. I'm wondering, though, if you just want some quiet time, private time, to not be disturbed, is that available also, or do people kind of want to get you out and have you do things?
So if I'd like some quiet time in the community, because you guys have described this as like, wham, bam, there's all sorts of things happening, it's like overwhelming, there's too many activities, I need some downtime. How do I go about having some downtime? Who would like to take that, Chris?
We have a garden, and many times in the spring and the summer, I will go pick something up in the dining room for lunch, and we have a covered area in the garden, and it is so peaceful. I have found myself trying to nod off, and it's a really peaceful place to go, and that's where I go.
Do I have to participate in activities? Are there people who choose not to?
You can do what you want. Like I said previously, I have tried many things, and some of them, they're not me. So I go once, and then I don't go again. But I have plenty of things to fill my time.
Is it quiet back in my apartment if I want to just relax there?
Oh, yes. I typically go back to my apartment, especially during basketball season, because I love basketball, both women's and men's. And after dinner, I go back to the apartment, and if I want to watch something, I can. If I don't, and it's very quiet. I very, very rarely hear any noise outside my room.
And you watch TV, which is part of the one bill you pay, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. No separate bill. Love it. Where was our next question? And on this side, okay, you got the next one, Grace, good.
Is it on? It sounds like that most of you have moved to a retirement home where your children live. And we only have one child here in Reno, but most of our children are all around the United States. So that would be another move to another part of the world. Or are you happy here in Reno at your retirement home?
Would you repeat her question?
Yeah, so what's the question, Ricky? How to make a decision of where to go when you've got family everywhere?
How important was it for you to be with your children and look for a retirement home at their city or state?
Do you like your children? No, just kidding. You don't have to answer. But that's probably part of it, how much, yeah. So is anyone able to give Ricky any advice? So the question was, we have children in different places around the US, as well as one locally. If we were to move into a retirement home, how do we choose whether it's a home here, a community here, or someone else? Has anyone got any words of help?
I will say one thing. I no longer have family local here. My son and his wife retired and moved to some land they own in northern Nevada, but all of our children come to see us, to see me on a regular basis. We talk on the phone a lot and everything, so they're always checking up on me. And for those of you who can travel, you usually can go and visit them also. But I found I have so many friends in this area outside of Morningstar, because I lived in this area for 24 years. And so I have a lot of friends that I still do things with. And that helps fill the family void at times. But family, you will find, will keep in touch and will come and see you.
Thank you, Shireen. Did you have something you wanted to add, Lauren?
Well, first thing I would say is move somewhere you would like to live yourself.
Yeah, I like that. Somewhere you would like to be. I guess the other one maybe is how important are friends, if you have friends in the area, and then service providers like doctors and other things. Do you want to stay because of that? Yeah, that's a really tough decision. Lots of things to consider. Over on Grace.
Morning. I have a two-part question. The first one is, can you speak to mobility, which is in terms of driving and your independence? Did you give up any of that? Do you feel a loss for having to be able to get up on your own as opposed to relying on whatever the senior community offers you? One part. Second part.
Can I stop you? Can we do that? Because I'm not going to remember it and I need to repeat it. So mobility and driving. I'm not sure if it was mobility in the community, but certainly transportation. How have any of you, do you all still drive? And if not, so that's the first part. And if not, how do you get about? So start with you, Lauren.
We still drive, both Evelyn and I, and we seem to find ourselves on the road a lot because we live in Spanish Springs and all the doctors seem to live in South Reno. But the Cascades of the Sierra does have transportation, and you need to be patient because they have to serve a lot of people, but it's, speaking to our friends there, it seems to work reasonably well. So I'm not fearful about how we'll get by when the time comes that we can't drive, but it's certainly convenient while we can.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything to add?
I also still drive, but on certain occasions I have used, Morningstar has 2 vans that 3 days a week you can set up your doctor appointments, doctor, dental, and those Monday, Wednesday, Friday are for doctor visits. The other days of the week, they take us places. They'll take people to casinos, to restaurants, sometimes for lunch, sometimes for dinner. Sometimes they go shopping, or on certain days they'll take you to grocery stores, or they take you, I was going to say another one, right out, there's a senior mind for you, and everything. But they keep us busy, and with the vans you sign up for these trips that you would like to go on with them, and they're a lot of fun.
Thank you. Chris, you still drive?
Yes, I still drive. In fact, I like to plan ahead, and in 2 years my license expires, so that's kind of my trial period for transportation. So I am going to start, we have a bus and we have a van, I guess, and we have, a car and a sedan and several different transportation availabilities. So I'm going to test it. And I hear I'm going to be very happy because the transportation system, as far as I know from the residents, it is very good.
Thank you. Christy?
I still drive. However, Mountain Lakes has started something.
Can you hold your mic just a little closer, Christy?
Yes. Mountain Lakes has started something where they take us to the dog park. A lot of residents have dogs. And I could just drive with Griffin, but it's so fun to get on the van with all the dogs. And I enjoy the camaraderie. So if it's something that I really want to do and it's a group thing, I'd rather be in the van.
Wonderful. Hopefully that helps and answers the question. You had part 2. The other thing I did want to mention, because I think one of you brought it up, and it's a good reminder, if you're not aware, if you were at our seminar back in November when we talked about driving after 80, we had the RTC here, Regional Transportation Commission, and they talked about the ability to go to them, and for each adult you can get $60 per month free to use for taxi service, Lyft, or Uber. And if you're a couple, that's $120. So if you're not aware of that, come up and talk to me or find someone else who knows about it. but that's potentially as a couple $120 a month you can use to get to the airport, to a restaurant, whatever it might be. You had a second part to your question.
Thank you. In Nevada, you get one monthly bill, as someone mentioned, and you rent your space. In other states, you potentially have to buy in and to be able to get into a senior living facility. My question to you is, did that have any consideration when you're making your move?
So if I was just to rephrase that, there are other types of communities, probably you're referring to a CCRC where you actually have to buy in, and they have all levels of continuums of care, including skilled nursing. Here in this area, we only have month-to-month lease communities, and our attendee was asking, did that factor in? Did you consider a CCRC elsewhere versus what's really just a contract of month-to-month? No to each?
Not me.
No, so all no's. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Next question over here. Trisha's making her way around. Do you know who your next person is, Grace? Yep, good.
I have a question for all of you, actually. Are there any downsides, any disappointments that you have found?
Great question. Any disappointments? You're referring to being in the community, the current lifestyle? Any downsides to your current lifestyle being in a community? Not necessarily your specific community, but any downsides that come to mind?
I think it's a good idea to take a patience pill every day when you get up.
Say that one more time, Lauren. I missed that. Take a what pill?
A patience pill.
Oh, a patience pill. Need to have patience. I think we all need that no matter where we are, don't we?
Sometimes the meal service is pretty slow.
Okay, so sometimes meals coming out can be slower than desired. Okay. Anyone else? Doesn't sound like there's a lot of downsides.
Well, okay, as in life, there's always personalities that you may not click with. When it gets severe, someone gets aggressive, does something like that, that's not fun. However, if they violate to a point that, they're unsafe to be around our residents, they do get evicted. But we've had a couple of instances, but it's about individual people.
Because of emotional state or mental state that they need help somewhere else.
Right, or they're drunk.
Or drunk. And then the community take care of that. Yeah, no, that was a really good question. Thank you for asking that. Which side? Over here, yes, Grace.
I actually have three short questions.
Could you hold that microphone a little bit closer, please?
I have three short questions. One, which ones allow animals, which ones have assisted living, and which ones have a waiting list?
Animals is all.
Oh, good.
Assisted living, Lauren's community, Cascade, Shireen's community, Morningstar, and Chris's community, Premier Residence. Mountain Lakes Estates is just independent living. I'd highly recommend picking up the Senior Living Directory. It has a matrix at the front that lists all the communities and what they provide, whether it's assisted, independent, memory care.
Can I respond, add to that?
Yeah, please, Christy.
At Mountain Lakes, people get caregivers when they need it for assistance.
Oh, thank you for adding that. All the communities allow outside care agencies to come in to provide that additional level of care, including if they already have assisted living.
And regarding animals, are there cats and dogs, or?
I believe they're all cats and dogs, but there are like size limitations, and Grace is nodding her head. Thank you, Grace. Yes.
Thank you.
You'd have to ask each community their specific requirements. Yeah, great questions. Thank you. Over here with Trish, where are we? And then I have one down the front too, Trish. I think you have a couple more at the back.
Had a question about a couple.
Can I just stop you one sec? Can we turn up the mics? Yeah, because I'm having trouble hearing a little bit.
Can you hear me better now?
Oh, that's good. Yes, thank you.
That'll take care of it. Fine, thank you. Independent living when the spouse needs to be in memory care. How is that handled at something like Morningstar, where they have both memory care and independent living or assisted living?
I think that question, unless you have an answer, is better handled by one of our community people, just because I know my four panelists haven't been directly involved in that. But if you hand the microphone back to Trish, who's with Morningstar, you could answer that, Trish, for me.
Yeah, I can. So we do have this occur in our residence. So we have husbands and wives where one is an independent and the other is in assisted living or memory care, having 2 apartments, or some will live together. Although a memory care environment is not conducive for someone who doesn't have a cognitive decline, but they can live together. A lot of times we see couples moving together to assisted living when one needs care and one doesn't. Generally in memory care, they stay in separate apartments.
Thank you, Trish. And yeah, if you have more questions on that, yeah, speak to Trish or Jerry or any of our community representatives are happy to give more information. So back on this side, Grace, did you have anyone else with a hand up? Here down the front. And while we're waiting, Trish, you have someone right beside you, I think, with a question. Let's go there.
So my question is, Shireen mentioned estate sale, and somebody mentioned the movers. Were you prepared for the cost of moving, what it was going to take to do this before you made your moves?
Shireen? So there's obviously a cost in terms of moving, and what was the second part? The stuff? Oh, the estate sale, yeah, getting rid of all the stuff. Were you prepared, did you know that there was a cost to do that, and were you prepared?
Yes, definitely. What happened for each company that was going to do something in particular like that for us, we interviewed them at our home way before the move to decide who we wanted to use, number one. They would also explain their cost and everything. You sign a contract with them and agree on the cost in advance. And so there aren't really any surprises. The only surprises that may come up is with, say, an estate sale. Like for us, we ran into difficulty because we were going to move in April, so the estate sale was the end of March. And we hit bad weather, which kind of put the kibosh on the sale. But they were able to repeat it a week later and put some of those things off, and the house was still available. It hadn't been sold quite yet, and so we could still use it for it. But any agreements on that you make in advance, and you will know the charges that they will charge you.
Thank you, Shireen. If you want more information, our move management team outside could probably help with that, estate sales, moving, and so forth. If you talk to Joe or Kim. I think we have time for one more, maybe 2 more questions.
Are there waiting lists for these facilities? Or what is the waiting period once you make the decision to move in? Or can you move in right away?
Do any of you know if you have a waiting list? Christy?
On mine, the apartment opened the day before I visited. I got in immediately. I do understand if it's full, there's a wait list.
Yeah, so maybe I can answer that because we work with all the communities. It changes over time. So today they have a wait list, tomorrow they don't. But a good number of communities do have a wait list, so I would always recommend reaching out well in advance so you can be on the wait list. It doesn't mean you have to move in at that time. It just means they're going to call you and say you're ready, and if not, they'll kind of keep you on the list. Yeah, Lauren.
In our case, we put down a deposit several years ahead so that when we did want to make the move, we were at the top of the list.
So they knew you were serious, you were planning on moving. Yeah, that's a good way. We had one here. Did you have a question, Ruth?
It was answered.
Oh, it's already been answered. Time for one last question. Does anyone have a burning question? The lady in the red over here, Trish, if you don't mind. My education partners, oh, okay, they've already gone. Excellent.
Thank you. I was just curious, the Morningstar Senior Living of Sparks, just out of curiosity, when somebody may need continuing care and increased services, maybe I asked the rep, but is there a price change, or is it a model like the continuum of care where you start out being independent living, but you end up ultimately in memory care? Is it the same price, or because it's month to month, it changes?
Trish, could I or Grace have one of you answer that? in 30 seconds or less?
It does. There's different pricing structure for independent living, assisted living, and memory care, so it would change as you age in place, as we call it. Yep.
Wonderful. Thank you for all the great questions. Can we have a big round of applause for our panelists for being here? Thank you so much to each of you.